Uganda's economy was badly affected by COVID-19 lockdowns in 2020 and 2021, as many businesses and ventures from which government collects taxes closed shop or failed to repay their bank loans. Finally, in January this year, the president fully reopened the economy, which had been previously done in phases. This gave hope to Ugandans that things would change for better, even with the 2021 general elections, which had a huge bearing on the economy, with politicians spending big. In June, government passed a budget of 48 trillion shillings for the 2022-2023 financial year. Part of this budget is to be spent on clearing foreign and domestic debts. Fund releases for the first quarter of this financial year are delayed, and many districts and government departments have reported that the shortfalls mean they cannot pay their staff, services are crippled, and plans for development are shelved. Professor Barnabas Nwagawa, an economist, explains how the country got here.
The major problem arises out of the fact that there has been increase in government expenditure. Government expenditure has been increasing against not very commensurate increase in revenue. You know, our revenue has been increasing, which has been very good, but not at the rate at which government expenditure is increasing. COVID-19 affected business enterprises, and of course government then found difficulty in raising revenue.
Dr. Fred Matovu of Makerere University School of Economics shares a different view.
My view is that this is something that started much earlier. It has been cumulative. First was started with the structural adjustment program, where it was expected that when governments reduce their expenditures in certain areas, they would save resources and invest in the required areas to propel production. For a long time, government budget was focusing on infrastructure, which was a good start to invest in roads and energy and those infrastructure services. But there was not equivalent investment in the productive sectors.
Although agriculture is not the country's biggest foreign exchange earner, it employs the majority of the population of over 40 million, despite the fact that the sector is not well funded.
When you leave that sector of input supply to the private sector, the ordinary farmers are not going to be able to afford, and therefore they are going to remain low productivity agencies, and they cannot themselves support themselves in terms of higher incomes, and you cannot collect taxes from them.
Escalating fuel prices are said to have compounded the problem.
Has the war between Russia and Ukraine had an impact on the Ugandan economy, especially in terms of fuel prices?
Remember, the price of barrel of oil went to negative. It went to negative 40 US dollars, for example, and it had to incur, these countries had to incur a lot of losses. So in that process, they said, actually agreed, that they would not increase supply before they recoup, before they make up for the losses which they incurred in the period that we had COVID.
So what needs to be done in order to change the state of affairs?
A scale of preference is looking at things A, B, C, D. What are you willing to leave out in A, B, C, D? Is it A or it is B or it is D? Then you develop a priority list.
Reduce the public expenditure administration and also support the private sector to be able to grow and become viable businesses, out of which later on you can make correct revenue.
And some legislators think that.
But the money that is given to districts is deplorable. It's terrible, like we don't have a government.
But instead of us now having just the exchange on the floor, let's go and exchange in the bottle, and we come out with a way forward. But whatever comes out should be reported on the floor.
Although experts say that it may not take long for government to get out of its budget financing deficit, they say this is the time when government should be more frugal in terms of setting priorities, especially when it comes to expenditure, by ensuring that they fast-track the merging of agencies, owing to the fact that government has been spending colossal sums of the budget on paying salaries for civil servants. And if that doesn't happen, or if everything remains constant, the repercussions in the future might be more dire than they have been this time. Sidibu Yaruhanga, NTV, Kampala.